have a question for you. Do you love your body? Do you accept your body? Are you comfortable in your own skin? Or might you get in the way of loving your body and loving your life and having really deep connections with others, maybe partners, or just being able to feel open and alive in your vehicle, in your soul chariot, when you're around people, when you're going out in life? If there's any wonkiness around that connection to your body, I have an amazing guest, and she is a dear friend of mine. I have Marla Mervis-Hartman in the house. Let's say hello to her before I tell you more about her. Marla, so good to have you here.
I'm so glad to be here. I'm so glad to share with all your people. And of course, I love being with you. So this is a perfect opportunity for both.
Oh my God. It's so precious because Marla and I have known each other for years. We got to play on the beaches in Maui a year ago in 3D, which is not always typical when you meet people online. And one of the things that brought us together was body image things, comfortable in one's skin. And her work is so precious. And I know that in midlife, I'm putting myself in there, we can bump up against some insecurities and doubts and some things that keep us from our deepest joy. So let me tell you a little bit about Marla. Marla is the creator of Love Your Body, Love Yourself, helps women access their yes to the question of, do you love your body? And after years of dysfunction with food, exercise, and body confidence, Marla transformed her life through self-compassion and friending herself. She now empowers women to appreciate their bodies, making nourishing lifestyle choices, and to build confidence. So let's take a breath into that, because it is not only possible, it is doable. And she's got the chops, and she's got some amazing tips and tools to share with you. So let's dive in. So Marla, it's a huge topic. And as we were
Oh,
talking
huge.
before this, I was like, oh my God, we probably need a few hours and a few episodes. So let's see where we go.
Yeah.
Emotional eating. Let's just start with emotional eating, because that is a huge piece for many, many women, especially when they feel vulnerable in the second half of life, their body's changing. Maybe they've gone through divorce. Maybe they have adult children or young adult children. And there's just some things that are poking at them that have them challenged in different ways. And emotional eating is a thing. I would love for you to actually give the definition of how you view what emotional eating is first. I mean, we can say we know, we probably do, but can you kind of give us a sense of how it looks in your world, and maybe some tips and tools on how to heal this huge challenge that so many women experience in the second half of life?
Yeah. Thank you for asking that question, because that's where I was going to start. So we think about emotional eating. It's this huge umbrella. It's umbrella of boredom eating, stress eating. And I want to put this in there. This is very important. Dieting, emotional dieting gets under that. So we often lump emotional eating around this eating too much. However, when when we have an issue where we're feeling uncomfortable, and then our thought is, I need to control my food, that is emotional eating. That's emotional dieting. It's under that same category, right? So it's that feeling of being out of control with food and also wanting to control food in order to feel safe. So emotional eating, when we look at it, like using food is not a bad thing. We do that all the time. We celebrate with food. We may get a little wired and we eat something. It does ground us. That is its job. It brings us pleasure. It helps us to deal with situations. So we don't want to throw the whole thing out. What we're looking at is when we're using food as a way to cope, that we're not getting at the reason that we're eating. So people will, and one of the big things around this is usually people don't come to me with any issue around emotional eating until they've gained weight. Now it's a problem. right? It's fine that they have been stuffing their feelings and not feeling and not dealing, but it's not okay once it's caught up to them and they've gained weight,
Yeah.
right? So now the culprit is the weight. And now the way that people want to deal with it is, well, let's figure out how to get the weight down or change the food or leave the food out of the house and do these things and that and all of that. But actually, the issue is we want to look at the food as the symptom of something that's underneath. And it's so much easier to diet, to control, to say that we're just going to control our food. However, the most loving choice, and you had shared that in the bio, is like the compassion is the most important. We're really looking at an emotion, and when we emotional eat, as wow, like if you were to say this as a friend, like, wow, my friend is upset here. I am upset. I'm using food all the time. What can I do for myself to deal with what I'm actually upset over? And that's not always easy. That's not something we always want to do, right? Because sometimes it feels like it's too overwhelming, whatever that thing is. And so, but that is what will heal us, looking and being with ourselves and loving even the part of ourselves that's doing the emotional eating, right? Like for me, sometimes like, oh, here we are again. Really? Did we just shove a bunch of chocolate in our mouths again? Oh, like instead of like, I'm an idiot, there's something wrong with me. Why do I keep doing this? It's like, no, like, oh, I must be in a tizzy if this is what I'm doing right now.
Mm. All right, I'm going to pause you there. There was so much there. Oh my God. And then we'll get into tips and tools. And
Yeah.
one of the things you said, and it was a little bit of an aha moment for me. I never kind of saw it this way. I always, and maybe some of the people listening and watching know. And by the way, if you haven't liked and subscribed to the station, what are you waiting for?
Do it, do it, do it.
Do it now. Do it now. I always forget to mention that. It's like, oh yeah, right. So some of you know that I definitely was, and I need to keep it in check, an emotional eater. I used food as a drug, and I was 200 pounds on a 5'3" body 20 years ago. And I have kept it off for over 20 years. And it wasn't because of white knuckling it. I did find that compassion for myself. I found that self-acceptance. And I found a lot of I used a lot of the tools that we're going to talk about today. But one of the things you just said, it was kind of like, oh, emotional eating isn't just shoving the food in your mouth. Emotional eating is also when you control the food. And I've never heard it put that way, because the constrictions and I can't do this and having it in a certain place. And I definitely have still, since you said that, I'm like, wow, I still have a little bit more of that going on, where I'm very careful and controlling on what's in my house up to a point and how I work food. So I think, this emotional aspect and controlling, whether controlling on how much we put in our mouth or out of control of how much we put in our mouth, and getting to the core root of what is going on. Why are we having such a hard time? That food is suddenly this piece to help us through, versus just being with ourselves and tuning into ourselves. And you said being your friend. I love that. So that was kind of an aha for me, that emotional eating is so much more than just I'm out of control, but even looking at the control part, that's a different thing. I've never really heard that before.
Yeah, and what it ends up doing is we get to, when we have issues with our food, is to separate the food. So we put the food over here and then we are with our feelings, right? So when we separate the food from our feelings and we eat from a place of neutrality, we can actually hear and listen to our bodies and actually what we need and what we want. Because emotional eating, so if we can take this even broader, right?
Yeah.
So we are in a world of diet culture and where society is really pushing on us to eat this food, don't eat this food. Oh, but don't eat that then, but eat this then. And your body matters, right? So there's no denying that people get accolades for certain bodies. And I've experienced it my whole life, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
and even that being said, even when I got the accolades for being in the body that people said they wanted, it didn't make me actually feel any better. It didn't help me to like not have an eating disorder. It
yeah.
actually catapulted it. Right. So we emotional eating is also the guilt. It's the guilt. Like anytime I ate anything, there was so much guilt around it, right? Unless it was perfect.
Mm.
And there was the fear of it having to be a certain way. And I think what you just kind of shared and what I'm kind of noticing in my own life is that I used to have this guilt voice that was right here that was like, don't eat that, you better not eat that, or how much can I get away with? Right, that
Yeah.
was also it. How much can I get away with eating before I don't feel bad about myself or I feel like I'm going to gain weight, right? And so that voice has dimmed. But in this world of diet culture and in this world of being on Instagram and getting all this information around how we're supposed to eat and what we're supposed to look like, the guilt voice can still exist. And so it's being aware of that and being aware of like, oh, look at me. I'm having these voices while I'm making my food. And
Mm.
how does that making me feel right now? And because it takes us out of our bodies. And what we're wanting to do is to love our bodies. So the way to love our bodies is to get to know our body.
Ooh, ooh, ooh. The way to love our bodies is the way to is getting to know our bodies. Tell me more about what you mean by that.
So it's like any relationship. How do you know that you love that person? How do you know to love them? Like I know how to love my husband, right? I know what he needs, what he wants. I know his love language. I know these things. So I get to do that for myself,
Yeah.
right? And it's really important because I know even love your body, love yourself. The name of my company is my business is it's a little triggering. Like you go love
Yeah.
your body, love yourself, right? Like whatever, right? But there's a difference between liking our body and loving our body. So we may look in the mirror, especially during when everything feels like it's wonked with our changes in our body and the hormones. And like, oh my gosh, I just had a huge breakout on my face. I was like 13 again, right? It's like, I don't like that, right? And so we have these moments where we don't like what we see in the mirror, or we don't like how we feel, but we still can love ourselves and we can
Mm.
show up. And that's the same thing. There's certain days that I'm not like really liking my husband, but I love him and I show up with respect for him and I show up and I know how to do that. Right. So we really, in this journey of, especially during this time, this midlife, we want to notice like, okay, not liking, but how can I still love myself with compassion? And how can I still show up and feed myself?
So, are
Without
you saying that when we can love ourselves and love our bodies with compassion and have self acceptance and using your language, actually befriending your body, that allows us to kind of disconnect from the emotional eating? Connect the dots for me on how those two play out together. Quick interruption, and then we'll get right back to the show. There is something time sensitive. There is a contest going on, and there's one lucky prize winner to win the Relationship Toolkit program. This is a 5-week program with me guiding you to help you really stand your ground and have healthy boundaries, to be able to speak your truth and trust your gut, to have good, solid self-esteem, and to learn what the healthy relationship that you desire looks like. You learn to rewrite your love story and so much more. So there'll be one winner. There's some really juicy second place prizes as well. So you're going to want to click the link in the show notes for enter the contest.
And be sure to put your correct email address and your phone number so I can reach out to you and let you know if you're the winner. Good luck.
Okay, so the more we know ourselves and the more we know what we need, right? The more we don't need to emotionally eat. So
Yeah.
here's an example of emotional eating that I'm hoping paints a little bit of a picture. So what I have seen with a lot of people and a lot of clients is that they have a lot of shame around their emotional eating. And then this catapults them into skipping breakfast, maybe having a little coffee, maybe they're doing the intermittent fasting, new rage, no judgment on whatever anyone's doing, but often they do that and then they have a sensible lunch. They have a sensible salad,
A sensible lunch, a
a sensible
portion
lunch,
controlled lunch.
right, with their protein and their little do, and maybe they have a little snack. And so they're living on practically nothing and they're
Yeah.
stressed out and they have a lot going on, as almost everyone does. And then they get to dinner and they have this idea of what dinner is going to look like, but they're stressed out and they eat the dinner with their family or whatever the situation is. And then all of a sudden they drop into their body and they drop and they're like, wow, I'm really tired. And wow, I just went through all of that day. And that was so much stress. I deserve something. I
Yeah,
need.
they weren't supporting themselves. They weren't loving themselves. They were pushing, 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 controlling, restricting, and then boom, we have a situation at
We
hand.
have the binge, and now we have the emotional eating, and now we have the not being able to sleep very well at night, and then all of that, and then waking up in the morning and feeling ashamed and not even being hungry because you just ate so much, and then going into that same thing again. I need to control. I need to control. So with a lot of people, I just shared this with a client just last week. You need to eat more food because
Yeah.
you need to nourish yourself. And I have had those conversations with myself. Just eat the damn food and move on.
Yeah. Yeah. Love yourself enough to give yourself enough food
Sure.
and nutrition. And especially with menopausal women, and I know this for a fact for myself and everything I've read, we need more protein. We
Yeah.
need more food. And when I started really looking at, because I'm all about my health and wellness, yes, I'd like to be in a smaller body. Yes, I would like to look a little bit younger than I am. But I've also been like, okay, I'm 60. I am in this body and I want it to work for me. I'm going to love myself as much as I can, even if it means I need to give myself some more food. And even if it means that I'm not going to be losing as much as I'd like or as easily as I did in the past. And yet, I am bumping up against being vulnerable around the changes in my body. I'm still loving myself. I've gotten to this place, with food and my relationship with food because my emotions and my food, church and state, and yet, there's something to be said about intimacy with others and being comfortable in my own skin. And so I'd love to like kind of bring in what we're talking about and also kind of weave in the what do people do when they're feeling out of sorts with their body image. They've been handling their journey in a certain way. Now they're needing to love their bodies. Give us some more tools on how to have that self-acceptance, how to love themselves even more, and what might they do to shift their relationship with their body image, because we know that affects the ability to connect with others. What do you got on that one? I
I
know I
got
laid
a
down a
lot on that
whole
one.
bunch, a lot there.
Lots to say there. So I tell you what doesn't work. Shaming yourself, talking mean to yourself, being negative to yourself doesn't work, does not help you to make the right choices, does not help you to feel better about yourself, nothing. So whatever that voice is in there, we want to give these voices, right? And you talk a lot about that, the shadow work and all of that, Junie. It's like we're
Yeah.
not shutting that voice up. We may be wanting to lean in and being like, oh, you're feeling really uncomfortable. Oh, you're upset about our body. We're upset about our body. Like we want to tune into that with compassion, right? But we don't let that go crazy. So
Yeah.
this is where community this is where, and I'm kind of probably speaking to the choir here because you're here, listening to this podcast about midlife. It's like creating and connecting with other women who are going through this process and who are also feeling uncomfortable in their body. And it's important to find not just women who sit around and bitch about it, right?
I was just going to say you have to know who you're surrounding yourself with, because you don't want to be in that bitch and moan, poor me. There's nothing we can do. We need something else.
Yes. I had a colleague say bitching, bonding over bitching.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we can complain and we can bitch, but who are we sharing that with, and who's in front of us to hear it? What are we, how are we being heard in that? Right. So that's really important for these times, because it's scary, because we were in a body and maybe you never felt comfortable in your body, right? Maybe this is a journey you've been on for a long time, right? And then all of a sudden, maybe it's like, whoa, this is up even more so.
Oh,
And this
so
like
true.
scary, right? And this is where you may actually need support,
Yeah.
right? Now, the thing is, and this is a good thing and a scary thing, is in the past when we were younger and we were feeling uncomfortable in our body, we would reach for a diet and we would start restricting. We don't get to do that now.
Yeah. Doesn't work.
No, but this is the thing. It's like there are things that we can do that are steps, maybe with our food, or steps with our exercise, or steps with our self-care, that actually do empower us. So it's looking at our sleep. It's looking at, are we getting enough protein, right? Rather than, I can't believe I ate that and that's so wrong. It's like because when we're in this place of feeling really vulnerable and feeling the shame, it's good to have actions. It's just, we need to have the actions that are actually going to serve us at this point in our life. It's so important. And we also want to look at our mental health. I've been in the mirror. I'm like, oh, I liked it when I was like 5 pounds lighter. And, and I just was like, you know what, though, this is the body I'm in, that I'm not cuckoo crazy.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is the fullness of Marla living her life. Right. And I know the difference. Oh, I could probably find a way to get down there. I don't even think I could do it anymore, but but I'm not me. And gosh, we have so many more. I think at this time in our life, it's like we get to see the true priority of what we want to do and what we want to create.
That I'm glad you brought that in too, because that's the reason I do this podcast. It's the reason I do this work. I'm age of life, and it is a precious stage of life. We've mostly gotten done with the kids or the career, established. We get to this place where we've jumped through so many hoops. We've taken on all these beliefs about our bodies and how to be. And we get to this place where it's like, wait a second, how do I want my second act to be? How do I want to feel? And we need to make some changes. And to your point, if we don't feel like we're moving forward, if we're stuck, that's painful, really painful. And a few of the steps you shared, things to shine a light on, which are so important, is how are you sleeping? People have no idea the impact of poor sleep. And if you think you're sleeping really, really well, I'm going to tell you, I wear this Oura ring and I track my sleep. There's different ways to track your sleep. We're not going to go into that, but suffice it to say, if you're not getting enough rest, your body is in stress. If your mind is racing and you're not being kind to yourself, your body is stressed. And if your body is stressed and you're not eating well, your body's not going to lose weight. It's not going to function. You're not going to feel well. And then you're going to be even in a worse situation, even if you are in a smaller body. That's one of the beautiful things about this stage of life. We know so much and we want to feel good about ourselves. So Marla, what is maybe one golden nugget for someone right now to help them quiet what's between their ears, to be able to come to that self-acceptance, to be able to break through some of these barriers of self-doubt and frustration and thinking that they cannot be in this balanced, beautiful way with themselves, where do they start if they're, I'm a shadow worker, I have my way. What might you offer to this woman who's like, what do you mean self-acceptance? I look in the mirror and I'm just like, I don't accept that my boobs are almost down to my waist or that my clothes don't fit me, or I'm actually single and I'm afraid that somebody is going to see that I've aged. How do I accept myself? What would you say to someone who is like at that place?
Well, I think self-acceptance is it's a tricky one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I know for myself, self-acceptance was the scariest thing that I dealt with.
Yeah.
To accept my body and to be comfortable in my own skin, we often put acceptance right next to giving up.
Exactly. If I really accept it, that means I'm content. That means I'm just going to allow it to be what it is. And that is very scary for most people because they're like, well, wait a second. If I accept it, that means I'm not going to do anything.
And that's not the case.
Exactly.
So there's a couple different things I want to share here. So I want you to really take that in and really think about that. Acceptance doesn't mean you're giving up. Acceptance is really slowing down and being like, and I've done this, I don't know how many times, this is my life. This is my body. This is my life. And taking responsibility for that and owning it. And there's something about that that's so bloody empowering, right? It is so empowering from that place to be like, okay, now it doesn't have to stop there, because from this place of owning, right? Because what happens when we don't accept ourselves? We're literally like this, right? We're stressed out. We're not connected to ourselves. And
by the way, for those that are listening, she just did this whole kind of like chaotic dancing video. Like,
oh yeah,
that's how we are.
Yeah, it's this franticness, right?
Yeah.
And when we get to slow down and own that this is the truth and this is what is happening right now, then we get from this place to take action. But when we are not accepting it, it's
a fight.
It's a total fight, right? It's a total fight. And then from this place, there's certain things that we can surrender and that we're actually willing to. Like, okay, I'm going to surrender the fact that I'm never going to have that booty that I had back then.
Yeah.
Right. And so there are certain gifts that we get through this place of accepting ourselves. Right.
Yeah.
And, when we think about giving up, there's a place of like just lying back and just letting life happen. Right.
Yeah.
We're not going to do that at this point in our life, right? We get to choose. And so accepting ourselves is kind of the first step to then deciding, how do I want to love my body and how can I make that happen, right? And, even what you were talking, you kind of went on a little tangent around sleep.
Yeah.
Right? That sleep element is like, oh, I'm not going to just focus on restricting my food. I'm going to take this action and really focus on another way that I can love myself. Right.
Yeah. There's a lot of pieces of self-care here and loving ourselves. There's so many things that you're sharing that are so paramount. Quick share about acceptance. Years ago when I was in my early 30s, my husband told me there will be a day when you're not going to care what people think about your thighs. And I laughed. I pretty much laughed in his face. I was like, yeah, no, because he knew I didn't want to wear shorts and I was uncomfortable in a bathing suit. And this went on no matter what size I was, because I went up and down the scale. And I have come to a place where I'm very comfortable in my body and I have accepted mostly where I'm at. And it was last summer that I had a pair of jeans and they were kind of tattered and old. And it wasn't like the good looking ripped jeans. It was like I either throw them out or I make them into shorts. and I cut them into shorts and maybe cut them a little too short. And I wore them out. And I found myself feeling so free because I accepted that these are my thighs, and I'm grateful for my thighs. I'm grateful for my legs. They're far from perfect compared to what we see as beautiful and perfect. And I came to a place of acceptance, and I wanted to share this with you because a couple of weeks ago, and it's been so friggin' hot. Where hasn't it been hot? It's just so friggin' hot. I'm like, where are my short shorts? Where are my short shorts? And you know what came to mind? I thought, did I throw them out? Did I have a vulnerable moment and throw them out? And I searched and I searched and I found them. And I was so happy. And I've been wearing them every day. And the reason I'm bringing this up is it truly is so freeing, so loving to myself to say, this is me. There's absolutely nothing wrong with me. I love myself and I don't hate myself. And it has allowed me to take better, deeper care of myself with what I put in my mouth and how I talk myself, and certainly what's between my ears. I just wanted to share that with everything that you're
love that.
talking about.
Doesn't everyone want to, we want a Facebook post with you and your,
Okay, game on.
yeah. It's so powerful to have the efforts, right? I mean, just to like, screw it. Like I'm done with that.
Yeah, there's
right?
actually an Instagram background thing right now that's like, and I didn't give a fuck, and I didn't give a fuck, and whatever, and over, and people are doing all these things. So, okay, that is what my next video is.
Okay, great.
What else did you want to add to that?
No, I think that was perfect what you said. I think that, I think there's layers to this, right? I don't think that
yes.
is something we turn the switch on and off to. No, though there are those moments where it's like, what? Doing that anymore? Like I am done, right? And those moments are amazing, right? When they come in, just like, I am woman, hear me roar. We just like, there's something about it. It's like the reclaiming. That's what I've been feeling during this.
Yes.
Like, there's like this reclaiming. It's like, I picked up that part of my soul and this, and it's like, it's in my body. And I'm just like, I love it. I'm loving getting older for that element. And there are certain things that they're so connected to our early childhood, even that they just keep coming up and they keep coming up. Right. And so it's so important to just, and I know I keep saying it, but to really be compassionate for ourselves and to be compassionate. Here it is again. Here it is again, me being so concerned about what people are going to think about when I'm, at a party or going to see old friends, right? And there's really the opportunity to, and here was the other, so you talk about self-acceptance. I had something else to say and it totally left me. And I was like, I'm going to accept myself that my brain forgets that. So it just
beautiful.
So here it is. We can play with self-acceptance and we can play with loving ourselves as if it is a muscle. So it's like I said, it's not turning the light switch on and off. It's like, for today, this is my body. And I've said that many times, like, okay, Marla, you're putting your clothes on, you're walking out the door. What are you going to do? You're going to lose 10 pounds in the next 2 minutes. This is your body for today.
No, we wish.
Right. Get over it and move on and live your life.
Yeah.
Okay? So, sometimes a day feels like too long. Sometimes it can be like, okay, I'm going into this meeting for work. And if I'm in my head around my body, I'm going to sabotage myself. For this meeting, my thoughts around my body, I'm going to accept myself. So we're taking, and sometimes it's like down to the minute, the next 5 minutes, right? This meal that I'm eating right now, I'm going to let go of, I'm going to accept what I look like, because because acceptance is scary, right? So it took me a long time. It was like, okay, God, I trust you. I trust
Mm,
the body. And then like, don't trust, got to pull back the control, got to, take on that diet. Okay, I'm going to trust a little bit more. And then it got a little bit longer and a little bit.
exactly. Exactly. You're building that muscle. I love that. And catching yourself, it's like when you start to notice that you are in that place of, or that self-talk that just doesn't feel so good, to be able to catch yourself and go, whoa, I'm not being nice to myself. You know, how can I talk to myself differently? Or park it at the door, because right now you're gonna really ruin this meal, this conversation, this deep moment with your partner or
The
somebody that you
sexual
just met.
experience, right? It's like
Yeah.
grabbing my thighs. It's like, oh my gosh, okay, for this moment, I'm going to shift the gears and just be like, okay, his hand, how does that feel, right? So for this lovely,
Yes, exactly. And I've had those moments where like, he's touching my belly, he's
I
touching my
know,
my
I
thighs, and then like take a breath, come back to your presence, come back to that connection. We are so wired for that moment, and oh my God, he's going to discover that I'm fat moment, and one other thing I just wanted to add, and that is, and this was just a recent kind of like, if I were to die tomorrow, everybody that loves me, none of them are going to go, yeah, but her thighs, you know, they're going to be talking about losing me as a person and what I brought to the world and my heart and my personality. It's like, I'm the only one that is focusing on my friggin' body in any way that takes away my joy. And that was really freeing to me recently as well. It's just like, because I still struggle with this. I mean, it's nowhere near how it used to be. I mean, I got naked and body painted for, tens of thousands of people. So I certainly have come a long way, but there are moments. And I really was like, the importance of who I am and the value of who I am and loving myself with all of the beauty that I have. Stop it. Just stop it. Stop it. Stop it. So I know you have a free course, which is so exciting. Can you share with them what this free course is? And then we'll put it in the show notes.
yes, it's called Breaking the Cycle of Emotional Eating. So this is a free course. I know a lot of free courses kind of give you a little dabble. This does not. I really
Oh, I
go
love that you said that. Mm-hmm.
They really give you some tools that you can start using right now. And so you can fly through the course, or you can slow down and take each module and do the work and then reach out to me. There's options in there to reach out to me for, a consultation if you're really feeling like this is something that you need to get some deeper help around. And it's okay. We need each other, right? We need each other. I mean,
Absolutely.
and I'm glad you said that around like your journey, Junie, because it's like, I'm still living in this world. And I've had, I mean, I can't even believe I'm actually talking about how that I'm on the other side of this from where I've come from.
Right.
And my coping mechanism is food and body stuff, right? So I know that when it starts coming loud in my voice, that I need to attend to something. So I'm not above and beyond understanding people's suffering, because sometimes I'm in those moments
Yeah.
and I'm past the point of feeling like I'm an imposter. No, I'm just part of this culture, and I'm a woman with a body going through it, right? So
And you've come so far and you've helped so many people. And that's the
yeah,
thing, we don't have to be, I always say I'm not with the mountain walking. I just might be, a few feet through to be able to hold your hands and help you through. And I know that you have that gift as well, because you work it on a daily basis.
yeah, I think it's important. I really get it. Like I can see what people are doing and what works and what doesn't work. And it's such an internal experience, right? Which can be scary for someone, right? Because the food, the body stuff is usually connected to that deeper experience.
Yeah. So let me just say that the course is going, the link is going to be in the show notes. And we have one more huge announcement right now that I
Good.
do not want to miss out on, which is your book is finally coming out. Please, please,
Yes.
please, please give, a shameless plug right now about this book, because I know this is such an amazing birth of Share with us.
You know, it's been a birth, Junie.
Yes, yes,
So
yes.
if you could feel into the theme of what I've been sharing around here, is what I really capture in the book, which is becoming our own best friend. So that's how we heal, is getting to know ourselves and love ourselves and care for ourselves as if we were our own best friend. So my book is called Befriend Yourself: Finding Freedom with Food and Peace with Your Body. So it's memoir, self-help, really giving you the tools and the inner story of how I have healed and how I've supported so many other people. So if you're listening to this, and October 1st, 2024 is when my book is launched, and there's a special offer on Amazon to get the Kindle version for like $1. And then when you do that, you can go to my website. We'll give you the links there, and you just plug in your numbers and you get to get my free Body Compassion Collective course. So those are 2 courses that you can really feel completely taken care of.
Oh, amazing. So good. So good. So we'll put the link to where to find her book so you can order that as well. We could have gone on forever, of course. And yet there is the thing called time and life, and I got some dinner plans. So with that said, Marla, you are such a gift to the world and a gift to me. And I'm just really grateful to bring this huge topic, because this is what gets in so many women's ways of enjoying sex, enjoying their second half of life, being themselves and loving themselves and enjoying all the different parts of being human. We need to park all of this at the door and learn how to be with it in a much more balanced, loving way. And you laid down a lot of golden nuggets here today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me, Junie. I love you.
I love you too. All right. Like I said before, if you haven't liked and subscribed, please do. It's a way for us to reach more people. It's a way so that you don't miss any episodes. And yeah, there's a lot of golden nuggets every week. And this is a new season. So I've got some amazing guests coming up. Enjoy the journey. And until then, mwah.